So hi folks, welcome to episode 3 of OpenClaw series. In this series, we'll be having a short intro to ClawHub and how to set up GOG skills. In this episode, we'll cover an intro to ClawHub. After that, we'll proceed towards installation of Google Workspace CLI. Now there are some prerequisites to it. First we'll be doing that. Post that, we'll be installing Google Workspace CLI. Once that is done, then we'll be integrating Google Workspace CLI along with OpenClaw and make it work for this episode. Let's start with ClawHub. Now what ClawHub is? ClawHub is basically a repository which contains all the skills and plugins that can be installed inside OpenClaw. So now, for example, for our tutorial, we'll be needing GOG Skill. So I'll go inside the skill section and I'll search for GOG. Here GOG stands for Google Workspace CLI. Once I do that, you can see the GOG skill present here. I'll just quickly click on that and you can see the installation instructions in order to add this particular skill to OpenClaw. For this, you can see that we need some kind of OAuth setup. So what we'll be doing next is installing Google Workspace CLI and doing the OAuth setup. Now for Google Workspace CLI to work, you'll first have to download Go. For that, we'll go in the download section and then look at the stable versions of the releases that we have. Now in order to understand which release we'd want, we'll just type in uname -a, which will give me information about my Linux setup, about which architecture my Linux setup belongs to. Once I have that, I'll take the tar file related to that particular architecture. So I'll just copy the name of the tar file and wget that particular tar file. So what that will do is that will basically install that particular tar file for me. Once I have that, I'll remove any existing Go installation if I have any. After that, I'll unzip the dar file inside the user local directory where ideally the Go should be present. Once this is done, I'll continue following the instructions present on the Go website. After successfully following all the instructions, I should be able to get the Go version. If I'm able to, that means Go is perfectly installed. Once Go is installed, we'll move ahead with the installation of GOG CLI, that is Google Workspace CLI. So for our use case, since we will be building it on Linux, we'll have to build it from source, since there are no direct installation options for Linux. I will just follow the instructions given there. Once the repository is cloned, we'll cd into that directory and we'll do make. Now this is where Go will be used, which we installed earlier. Now once this is done, we'll check if this is installed or not. You can see this is installed. Now what we'll do is we'll move this particular binary inside user local bin so that we are able to access this binary throughout all the terminals we have. Once done, we'll check if we are able to access it without giving a local path. If we are, that means GOG CLI is installed perfectly. Once Google Workspace CLI is installed, we'll move ahead with the credential setup. That is the OAuth setup we were talking about. So now in order to get a guide about this, we'll go inside docs section and there should be a file named as quickstart.md. We are already done with the installation part. So we'll go ahead with the OAuth client setup. For that, first we'll go ahead and create a project inside our Google. We'll name the project. If you're part of an organization, you can select that particular organization. If you're not, you can just leave it as is. We'll hit on create. Once this is created, then we'll move on to the next step, which is enabling the APIs. So basically this is where you'll be enabling your Google or Gmail APIs for the particular project. So you can enable multiple APIs. If you want to work with calendar or something else, you can enable calendar as well. For now, I'll enable only Gmail API. I'll search Gmail API and hit enable. Once this is enabled, then I'll go back to the third step. That is, I'll configure the OAuth consent screen. Now I'll go on get started. I'll give this some app name. In the audience, if you see inside the guide, external is already mentioned here. So we'll go ahead and select external. We'll go with next. We'll give in our email. Next, we'll agree to the terms and conditions and finish. Now once this is created, we'll then create a new OAuth client. Now I'll click on create client. I'll just give this a desktop app as an application type and then give it some name. Once done, I'll click on create. After that, I'll download JSON. We'll need this JSON later on, so keep it handy with you. Once this is done, then we'll configure our Workspace CLI. Now for that, what I'll do is I'll go inside my downloads directory and I'll check all the JSON files available to me. Basically, I want to look for the file I just downloaded. Now you can see this file name and the downloaded file name matches. Now I'll give this file path to GOG Auth credentials, which will actually set up these credentials on my local. Now once this is done, we'll be moving ahead with the next step. In this, what we'll do is we'll be authorizing our Gmail account. So for this, we'll just copy this command and paste it here. I'll just change my email address and then this should give me a URL. If I copy this and paste it, and if I try to authorize myself, this will give an error. Now in order to resolve this particular error, what I'll have to do is I'll have to go to the screen where I created my desktop application. Inside that, I'll go inside audiences. Inside that, you should be able to see a test users section. I'll add my email address as a test user. You can publish your app if you don't want a test user. For now, since this has been done only for testing, what I'll do is I'll just simply add a test user. Now I'll close this and I'll repeat the same process again. Once you authorize this particular URL, now after you authorize this, you should be able to see it asking for a keyring. If you don't enter a keyring, it will automatically time out and you won't be able to see anything else in the terminal after that. Basically, terminal will become unusable. Now, let's say you have authorized and you have got this again. If you click enter on it 4 times, it will basically go away because initially the keyring is empty. Hence, we do not have any keyring. So, pressing enter 4 times is the correct input for this. Now, in order to make this process non-interactive, what we'll do is we'll set up some defaults. So we'll set up a default email and we'll set up a default keyring password so it doesn't prompt for it again and again. So as I said, the keyring password is empty initially. Now I'll try this particular command. If this works for me, that means GOG CLI is perfectly set up. Now you can see I've got my last 2 emails. That means it is working perfectly. Now if I open a new terminal and give the same command here, you can see that it will ask me for a keyring. Now this is happening because the environment variables that I set up earlier were local to that particular terminal session. In order to make those variables accessible throughout all the terminals, I'll have to edit the bash.rc file located in the root directory. So what I'll do is I'll edit the bash.rc file and edit both the variables we set up earlier. Once that is done, we'll source the bash.rc file. Now again, we'll open a new terminal and run the same command to get last 2 emails. And it should work. Now that the installation of Workspace CLI and its setup is finished, it's time to add the GOG skill to our OpenClaw. Now for that, we'll just copy the command and then we'll paste it. So this should install the GOG skills in OpenClaw. In order to verify, what we'll do is we'll just go inside the root directory. Inside that there will be a folder by the name of .openclaw. Inside that workspace, once we do and we do ls, we can see there's a skill directory. Inside the skills directory, you can see GOG is present, which means this is correctly installed. Now this is done. After that, we'll restart the gateway. Once you restart the gateway, only after that the skills are available via or accessible via Telegram or its UI interface. Now we'll open the dashboard to check if the gateway was up and running or not. Now you can see the dashboard is open, so that means the gateway is up and running. Now once this is done, we'll go to Telegram and we'll check if the bot replies or not. Once this bot replies, that means then we are ready to proceed ahead with the next steps. Okay, so now this is working. Now that the GOG setup is done and everything is done, we'll ask OpenClaw to fetch last 2 emails for my email. Ideally, you would assume this should work, right? But again, you'll get some keyring related error here once even after you've set up the keyring and everything else. So you get this because there is an internal workspace of OpenClaw which is located at inside the .openclaw folder .cd workspace. Now inside this, if you ls, you can see there is no env file. So what we'll do is we'll create an env file so that those variables are also accessible to OpenClaw. So basically, whatever we add inside the .env file are the default variables present to OpenClaw. Now that this is done, we'll clear and we'll restart our gateway. Now after restarting, if we ask the same question again, you should get the answer. If you do, that means the setup is complete. In the next episode, we'll be learning about how to add custom skills to OpenClaw, and then we'll be doing the final testing. So see you in the next episode.